lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us this morning. Let me just get started with you, Rukayyah, and ask, the reason that you decided to go in to understand the housing deficit in Katsina and why this report.
Because I'm also a victim, because recently I was looking for a house also, so I know what I went through while looking for that house. I think that is the reason for the report.
And let me ask you, Architect Bashir Umar, I have to ask you to just talk to us about the primary factors that are contributing to the current housing deficit that is in Katsina. Is it urbanization, gentrification, or is there more to it? Because we're also seeing it here in Lagos as well, where the price of rent have just gone up by 100%.
I think we have this shortage on low housing projects, either by the federal government, state government, or public-private partnership. Also, before, you will see government and unions allocate lands and loans to their staff and workers, which encourage them to start building their own houses. And now there is a tremendous increase in population. As I said, as of 2022, we have about 10.3 million people, 10.8 million people as of 2023, and now 11.56 million people as of this 2025. This is not just limited to the fatality rate, but due to the insecurity, whereby people move from their villages, local governments, to a more secured area, which is the capital. So these houses available have to be shared between the new and old occupants. Also, I think it's due to this high cost of living, due to this economic situation, whereby houses that are leased out at the rate of 200K as of last 3 years now are given at the rate of. So I think that's it.
Okay. Bashir, thank you very much. Well, let me come back to Rukayyah. I share your experience. I lived in Abuja once, and it was very difficult for me to get housing. This is Abuja, by the way, but we're talking about Katsina here. So I'm wondering whether the case is the same as what I experienced living in Abuja, where in that case, it was because houses were expensive. To get a small self-contained at that time was so out of my budget. But in this case, it would seem that it's not that they're overpriced. It would seem that they're just scarce. They're not available. Am I correct, Rukayyah?
I think the problem, there are two problems. One is the houses are scarce, just like architect said, and then the other one is the houses are also expensive. Because in my reports, you can hear that I said the houses, the rates of the houses have increased by 150%. Because as of last 2 years, the house that that is rent out at 150,000, currently, I think that house is rented out at 500,000 or 550,000.
Okay, and what do people...
So the houses are expensive, one, and then two, the houses are scarce.
Okay. So what do people have to resort to doing when they can't find these houses? Where do they stay? How do they find accommodation, or how are they accommodated in these instances?
They end up cramped maybe in dilapidated houses, just in cramped conditions. Maybe just like students, you see that they will just be squatting with their fellow students. And then some of the people, they find rented places maybe in a very distant place from the town. So transport will be another issue for them. I think I even have to revisit this housing issue, my housing reports, because yesterday I spoke to some of the students and they were telling me about spending at least 5,000 naira before going to their school.
Architect Bashir, let me come to you. With the infusion of, I think, about, it's just a sizable sum, 5 billion naira into the system, what kind of structures are being built to accommodate people? Are these, from the pictures that we're seeing, I can see very elaborate, huge buildings. Are there any, what do you call it now, houses like low-cost houses being built for people to be able to afford, affordable housing?
Yes, like I said, there is now shortage on this low housing projects, so low cost housing projects. So I think if government should provide these low cost housing projects, it will cater for all these needs. So like our staffs, for example, of polytechnics, universities, and so on, it can be gradually be deducted from their salary. And also, I think the government and unions should allocate land and lots also to their staffs, which will encourage them to start building their own houses without waiting for rent and so on. Because the matter is so alerting to the extent that a person can book a house 1 year, 2 years before even occupying it. So I think these two solutions may cater for all these needs.
Right. I wanted to ask about, you were just talking about the government providing, and let's talk about public-private partnership, or better yet, just the private arm of things. You said there are low-cost housing that are being, considered and really being built. But do you think that the government should lean into public-private partnership, PPPs, where, low mortgage, cost housing is being established, but most importantly, mortgages are given to the residents of Katsina to be able to afford these homes?
Yes, I think it's the best solution to cater for all these needs. Mostly people don't want to invest in Katsina State due to the fact that it's not a marketing state, actually. So, but for this high demand of houses, I think it's a good development to come.
Rukayyah, I've got one final question for you regarding the influx of internally displaced people. If the focus has been to create houses for people who can, well, let's say, afford these houses, what about people who are displaced? How is the government managing these influx of people who can't even afford, at the lowest rate, these accommodations?
I can say straight that the government is not doing anything, because up to now we don't even have an official IDP camp in Katsina. At least if we have an official IDP camp, it would have been a little bit better. But these people are just living on the streets. They are living in incomplete buildings, on the streets. You can just see them. Maybe if you go out to Katsina at night, you'll just be seeing people on the streets lying down, sleeping with their children, because there is no official IDP camp in Katsina. So the government did not even consider building an IDP camp for these people. So how will they even consider building houses for them?
Well, thank you very much, Rukayyah. Thank you very much, Architect Bashir, for being with us this morning to help us get more light on the situation in Katsina State. We'll continue to see how it develops, and we also hope that, well, at least the situation lightens up a bit. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you very much, Rukayyah.